Okay, so this is Comm 101 quick tip on conclusions. I've forgotten what number it is now. There's too many of them. Just like introductions are critical to a speech, so are conclusions. And so many times speakers will get through the body of their speech and say, well, that's all I have, or that's it for now, or I don't guess I have anything else. And that's a horrible way to end a speech, especially if you spent time building your intro and building the body of your speech. There are things that need to be in the conclusion as well. It's your last spot in your speech to make an impact on your audience, to make it memorable and have them remember what you're talking about. You know, you've already established in your intro why they should pay attention and what they're going to gain from it. Remind them again. And there's some other things you want to do in your conclusions as well. So I've got the screen up. Conclusions are critical for a number of reasons. One is it prepares the audience for the end. Audiences hate to suddenly have, whoop, the end comes up on them and they weren't expecting it. It can irritate an audience, something fierce. As a musician, and this is something we play with once in a while in bands that I've been in, and we do it right now with a song from the Beatles called Come Together. Audiences want there to be resolution. They want to feel like things closed up the way they should close up. That's not always what we give them. And in the band scenario, we'll play Come Together. You know, in the song it goes, come together right now over me, right? At the end of the song, we'll do the come together right now, and we'll stop. And you can watch the audience tense up. And we do it on purpose. We never end. That's not the last song ever that we do. But you can watch the audience tense up a little bit. And a lot of times they'll laugh, you know. But in a speech situation, you never want that to happen. You want to bring closure to the speech. You want them to feel like there was a resolution to it and that there was a satisfying end. So prepare them. So have a signal in conclusion. We'll wrap things up. So finally, to close this all out, those are what they call signposts in the rubrics. And you want to use those to let the audience know the speech is about to be over. That way, too, they also know when to clap. You also summarize what you've talked about and close out the speech. So you summarize what your central idea is and what your main points are. Now, in the intro quick tip, I talked about the fact that you want to tell them what you're going to tell them. You want to tell them what the central idea is. You want to preview your main points in the speech. In the conclusion, you do the same thing. Not preview, you review. But tell them what you've told them. Tell them the central idea one more time. Go back through just the main points. Here are the main points we talked about were this, this, and this. Because as again, your repetition, the more repetition you build in, the more it locks into the brain, the more they remember. And so you review those in your conclusion. The other thing you want to make sure you do is restate your central idea. Remind them why you're there talking to them and what that topic is, and even why it may be important to them. Review all of your main points, not in detail, that you just might highlight. My three main points were this and this and this, or today we talked about this, and then we talked about this, and we talked about this. Also, in a persuasive speech, which we're weeks away from that now, the conclusion is the last place you can put in your final and usually your strongest persuasive appeal. You're trying to get your audience in that particular kind of speech to act, do, buy. You want some kind of action out of them. And that conclusion is where you get them to bring up that last appeal to go out. Now that I've talked about this, hopefully I've motivated you to understand why you want to go blah, buy, sell, do, sign, whatever it is, right? And then end with a clincher, end with something memorable, because you want to be memorable. Now, in the intro, I think I gave a couple of examples, but you want to tie a lot of times your conclusion back in your intro. So I think in the intro quick tip, I talked about changing a tire and my father telling me about changing a tire. And I said, so as I said, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I had to pull over and change my own tire. And when I got done and I put the spare shredded thing back in the trunk, and closed the trunk, and I got back in the car. I stopped for a minute and I thought, Dad, thanks a lot for helping me out, because you never realize those things that you learn as a teenager are going to come back and be so beneficial later on down the road. And yet here it was, he helped me years later and he didn't even know it at the time. We like those kinds of things, closing story type stuff that we can relate to. It makes your audience soften. It makes your audience like you more. And usually when the audience likes you, they like your idea too. And it compels them. So find something that really sticks out. Maybe you tell a different story, you tell another story, you have something that really stands out in their mind so they remember it down the road. And then maybe by remembering whatever that was, they'll remember your topic and maybe even you as well. So that's the important stuff that goes into a conclusion. The last thing I want to point out, I said the intro is 15% of your overall time. The conclusion should be about 10% of your overall time. So going back to easy math again, 10-minute speech, that conclusion should be about a minute long. In a 5-minute speech, that conclusion needs to be about 30 seconds long. It's more than just, well, that's all I've got. Go through and put those important elements in the conclusion and do them in the introduction as well. And your speeches are going to be better overall. I'll see you later in another quick tip. Bye.